One of the hardest things that you might have to learn to do whenever you're getting out of the survival mode is learning to teach yourself that it is okay to slow the fuck down, especially if you've had a life that has been really chaotic. You've been in fight or flight for the majority of it, and it feels the most safe for you to protect yourself, to always be alert because you're worried that the next shoe is going to drop because for so long the other shoe really did drop. And now that you're trying to get out of the survival response, maybe you're trying to get yourself away from chaotic situations, jobs, relationships, friendships, family members, whatever. And now you have all of this time that is freed up because you're not constantly worrying or having to be on edge because there's a threat that's constantly around. And with all that time and with all of that extra energy, you might feel like you're going crazy. And pretty much one of two things is going to happen. Either you force yourself to slow down because you are so tired of having to constantly be in fight or flight and you just don't want to live that life anymore, and or your body and mind force you into a freeze response because you have been on this high for a majority of your life in fight or flight that your body's like, I just really don't have the energy anymore. So you go into a freeze response and a burnout, maybe a functional burnout. And even though you're doing a couple things, it feels like you go home, you sit in front of your TV, you scroll, whatever, but just life is passing you by and you just feel like you're on autopilot dissociating. And I want to tell you, if that's where you're at, nothing is wrong with you. You are just not used to being at peace and not being in a constant state of fight or flight, cortisol, adrenaline. You are okay. You just don't feel familiar being at peace and not constantly having to look over your shoulder. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that getting out of the survival mode is going to be the easiest thing that you do, especially now that you're trying to navigate all this free time and energy and possibly a burnout in the freeze response. But I am going to tell you that the more space and time that you put between where you're at and when you were in these chaotic situations that caused you to be in survival mode, the more easy it is going to be to manage where you're at. So let's go over some things that might help you to manage getting through this time of your life a little bit easier. Number one, get into a daily practice of regulating your nervous system and your body, because if you don't regulate your nervous system and your body, then you're not going to be able to work through the mental stuff that is going on because you're still going to be in some form of survival. You got to calm your nervous system and your body down enough to feel safe enough to start working through the triggers, the trauma, working on the patterns, the belief systems, and all that. And then after that, I would strongly recommend either getting into a support group, finding a therapist, finding a trusted friend, finding people to help you move through this so you're not alone while you do it. I'd also recommend while you're doing this to understand your own patterns, your own beliefs, your own narratives, your mindset. What beliefs do you currently hold about yourself, the world, and other people? What narratives, what stories are you still telling yourself that might not be benefiting you anymore? And how can you start to reframe and work on those narratives for who you want to be, not who you were when you were in the survival mode? A great example for this video is if you believed when you were in survival mode that you had to constantly keep going or else you weren't going to be safe, then you might need to update that belief and say, you know what? I believe that I am actually safe when I am at peace, when I am at rest, when I am not constantly going. I believe that there are safe people out there. I believe that there are safe opportunities and jobs and experiences and environments that are safe for me and I feel welcomed and whole. I would also recommend some form of parts work or doing something to dismantle the shame that you have around different aspects about yourself and learning how to have like radical acceptance towards yourself and just life in general. And I don't mean that in a toxic positivity way. This isn't us saying like life is always good and nothing bad happens. No, you have to humanize your life, yourself, and other people, which means you can both be optimistic and hopeful about what's going on and try to see things in like a positive light while also understanding the reality of things. There is a balance. It doesn't have to be all bad. It doesn't have to be all good. And on that note, I would also recommend that you look into your cognitive distortions. And this kind of ties into everything, but I would strongly recommend trying to understand that you are a human and life is going to be lifing sometimes, and learning to accept that while also learning to grieve and move and work through that and make sense of things as they happen, and learning to feel your feelings is really going to help you. And what's really going to help with that is a lot of inner child work, reparenting yourself, understanding your own needs, your own preferences, your values, your boundaries, your wants, and learning to slowly but surely fulfill those things for yourself and find safe people, environments, and jobs that also help reinforce those boundaries and those wants and needs for yourself so that you know that it's okay that you have those things. Anyway, I'm sure there's more that I could say, and if you have any tips or tricks on how to get out of the survival mode or what you did to just kind of navigate this period of your life, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, my name is Sarah. I'm your favorite self-experimenting coach or companion, and I help get people reacquainted with who they most authentically are. You're an amazing person, and I hope you have the best day.